A live broadcast erupts into scandal as U.S. President Donald Trump publicly humiliates the young African president Ibrahim Traoré with a stunning racist remark. Cameras capture every second the silence, the tension, the outrage, but no one anticipates Traoré's next move. In one defining moment, he's about to shock the world and turn the tables forever. The lights blazed sharply, illuminating faces around the tense studio. Cameras rolled silently, capturing every uneasy shift of posture, every anxious glance. At the center of attention sat Ibrahim Traoré, the youthful president of Burkina Faso, calm and composed. He appeared oblivious to the hostility simmering beneath the polished veneer of diplomacy. Then, without warning, Donald Trump leaned forward slightly, his trademark smirk widening. His voice echoed clearly through the microphone, deliberately sharp and unforgiving. "Let's be honest here," Trump sneered, eyes narrowing with calculated disdain. "Global politics isn't child's play, especially not for someone coming from places where they're better off tending cattle." The statement reverberated like a thunderclap, rippling visibly through the audience. Several guests shifted uncomfortably, while a few betrayed their amusement. Yet, many others froze in stunned disbelief. Traoré's expression remained utterly still, betraying nothing, but his eyes, dark, intense, burning with quiet indignation, said everything. For viewers worldwide, the insult landed with a brutal clarity, exposing a raw nerve of racial prejudice long hidden beneath diplomatic politeness. The studio plunged into a deafening silence. No applause, no laughter, only an unsettling void that swallowed Trump's mocking words. Cameras hesitated, lingering uncertainly on Ibrahim Traoré's calm, composed face. The production team exchanged frantic glances, yet no one dared cut the live feed. In the control room, producers froze, torn between ratings and responsibility. Millions of viewers worldwide waited breathlessly, sensing the tension crackling through their screens. In the spotlight, Ibrahim slowly rose from his chair, his movements deliberate, controlled. The microphone captured the faint rustling of his suit as he stood, echoing loudly in the eerie quiet. His eyes met Trump's defiantly, no anger, just unwavering strength. The audience felt a palpable wave of anticipation ripple through the room. Journalists raised smartphones, desperate to document what came next. Social media erupted with hashtags, speculation mounting instantly. But Ibrahim did not speak immediately. Instead, he paused deliberately, allowing the weight of Trump's words to settle heavily in the room, sharpening the edges of the uncomfortable silence. In that moment, Ibrahim Traoré was no longer merely a young president from a small African nation. He was about to become the voice of millions. A week earlier, the sun blazed over Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso's bustling capital. Ibrahim Traoré sat alone in his modest office, a simple desk and scattered documents before him. Outside, children's laughter blended gently with distant traffic, masking the complexities of global politics. On the table lay a white envelope marked with an official seal, Geneva Summit Shaping the New World Order. The prestigious invitation had arrived unexpectedly, delivered personally by a Swiss diplomat. Ibrahim felt unease stirring within him, sensing a hidden agenda beneath the flattering words. He glanced at the letter again, fingers tracing the embossed print. Why now? Why him, Burkina Faso? Often dismissed as insignificant by powerful nations, rarely received such high-profile recognition. The unease lingered. Later that evening, dusk settled quietly over the city. Ibrahim shared his concerns with Amélie Laurent, a sharp-eyed journalist based in Paris. She was known for uncovering uncomfortable truths. Amélie's voice crackled urgently through the phone, filled with wary caution. "Ibrahim," she warned firmly, "this summit is a minefield. Trump's attending, and that's never accidental. They're either setting you up for humiliation or worse." Ibrahim listened quietly, his gaze distant yet resolute. He understood the risks. But deep within him, a stubborn conviction burned brightly. Avoiding confrontation had never brought dignity to his people. "I appreciate the warning, Amélie," he responded calmly. "But silence isn't an option, not anymore." After the call ended, Ibrahim stood by the window, staring at Ouagadougou's glittering lights. He remembered his grandfather's stories of struggle and resilience, of dignity lost and regained. He knew this invitation was dangerous, perhaps a trap, but also an opportunity. If he was to step onto the global stage, he would do so openly, fearlessly. In that quiet moment, Ibrahim made his choice, unaware that soon his courage would echo far beyond the borders of his homeland. 3 days later, Ibrahim Traoré stepped onto the tarmac at Geneva Airport. A brisk wind greeted him, sharp and indifferent. The reception awaiting him was colder still. Diplomats lined up formally, their smiles polite yet empty. Behind courteous nods, Ibrahim could sense subtle disdain, the lingering prejudice hidden beneath practiced gestures. Cameras clicked mechanically, capturing perfunctory handshakes and polite greetings. As Ibrahim rode quietly through Geneva's streets, sleek buildings and pristine avenues blurred past. He saw elegance and prosperity, worlds apart from the harsh realities of home. Geneva felt distant, untouched by struggles Ibrahim knew intimately. At his hotel suite overlooking Lake Geneva, Ibrahim unpacked slowly, each movement deliberate. He paused at a photograph of his mother, gently touching her worn face behind cracked glass. Her voice echoed clearly in his memory, "Never forget who you represent. Your dignity is our dignity." That evening, attending a preliminary dinner with global leaders, Ibrahim quickly noticed his isolation. Conversations flowed smoothly around him, avoiding direct engagement. He felt their reluctance, the silent assumption that his voice was irrelevant. Yet, amid dismissive glances, Ibrahim remained poised, quietly observing. He knew he had entered a carefully orchestrated scene, scripted to undermine his authority. Late that night, Amélie Laurent called again, urgency tightening her voice. "They're framing tomorrow's televised event as impartial, Ibrahim," she warned sharply. "But Trump's camp is involved heavily. They plan to corner you publicly. Are you ready?" Ibrahim inhaled deeply, holding the phone firmly, his gaze fixed steadily on Geneva's shimmering lights outside his window. His voice was calm, yet resolute. "They see poverty, skin color, history, and mistake these for weakness. Tomorrow, they'll see our strength." Ending the call, Ibrahim sat quietly, steeling himself for the coming battle. Tomorrow, beneath global scrutiny, he would face the storm head-on, not just for himself, but for every voice silenced by prejudice. Despite his preparations, Ibrahim knew no rehearsal could fully anticipate the turbulence awaiting him at dawn. The next morning dawned sharply over Geneva, sunlight slicing through high-rise windows, reflecting off polished glass. Ibrahim Traoré entered the television studio, a brightly lit, carefully controlled environment designed to project neutrality and impartiality to global viewers. Yet, beneath the glossy exterior, tension hummed quietly. Technicians scurried silently, checking microphones and adjusting lighting with nervous precision. Producers murmured instructions, ensuring the seamless delivery of a conversation already scripted behind closed doors. Seated among world leaders, Ibrahim immediately sensed the subtle choreography of power. The seating arrangement placed him conspicuously near Donald Trump, an intentional setup. Carefully disguised as mere protocol, Amélie Laurent, watching discreetly from the edge of the room, noticed the deliberate placement. She caught Ibrahim's gaze briefly, exchanging an unspoken acknowledgement of the danger ahead. Trump sat confidently, relaxed yet watchful. His presence commanded attention, projecting dominance without effort. Cameras eagerly sought his reaction, waiting for drama. The moderator, a veteran journalist known for neutrality, began introductions smoothly, his tone professional and measured. But Ibrahim detected a slight tremor beneath the polished delivery, betraying the underlying tension everyone felt but no one voiced. Across the studio, the red recording lights blinked steadily. Millions around the globe watched, unaware that the neutral event they were seeing concealed a carefully laid trap in that bright, sanitized studio. Ibrahim understood clearly neutrality was an illusion. The real confrontation, long overdue, was moments away from unfolding. The moderator's introduction barely finished before Donald Trump leaned forward sharply, breaking protocol without hesitation. His gaze settled directly upon Ibrahim Traoré, eyes coldly dismissive, his voice loud and disturbingly clear. "You know, let's face facts. Trump began, his tone dripping with open contempt. Some people simply aren't suited for discussions about global leadership, especially those coming from places still stuck in mud huts. Maybe politics just isn't their strength. The studio froze, the harshness of Trump's words echoing painfully through the room. It was no longer a diplomatic slip, it was blatant racial prejudice, undisguised, raw, and exposed under glaring studio lights. Trump continued mercilessly, his smirk widening. It's not personal, folks, just reality. Maybe he'd feel more comfortable discussing cattle or agriculture that's probably more natural territory for someone from his background. Gasps punctuated the silence. The insult cut deeply, exposing wounds that history had never allowed to heal fully. Several guests lowered their eyes uncomfortably, ashamed yet silent. Others glanced awkwardly toward Ibrahim, their curiosity overshadowing any outrage. Yet Ibrahim remained perfectly composed, sitting motionless, his jaw firm but relaxed, beneath his quiet dignity. However, anger simmered, not merely personal anger, but collective pain from generations of humiliation. Amélie Laurent watched helplessly from the audience, fury rising sharply in her chest. She knew millions were watching this live humiliation unfold. Social media was already ablaze, clips of Trump's openly racist comments spreading at breathtaking speed. Trump leaned back, satisfied, unaware that his casual cruelty had ignited something powerful, irreversible, a defiant spark destined to burn through silence and fear. In the brutal clarity of this moment, the truth was undeniable. Donald Trump had openly shown his true colors, exposing a prejudice that could no longer remain hidden. Trump's unapologetic words hung heavily in the air, leaving the studio in a stunned silence. Ibrahim Traoré's calm demeanor starkly contrasted the tension radiating from every corner. Guests shifted uncomfortably in their seats, eyes darting nervously, uncertain how to respond to such an explicit racial insult. In mere seconds, the scene rippled outward through screens around the globe. Clips of Trump's remarks exploded on social media hashtags like #TrumpRacism and #StandWithTraoré trending worldwide. Anger surged instantly, digital outrage colliding fiercely with waves of shocked disbelief within moments. Global media fractured sharply, drawing fierce battle lines between outrage and justification. Conservative news outlets scrambled, framing Trump's comments as blunt honesty or even dismissing them as misunderstood humor. On the other side, progressive platforms condemned the remarks fiercely, branding Trump's actions as clear evidence of deep-seated racial prejudice and arrogant ignorance. Watching closely from her seat in the studio, Amélie Laurent scrolled anxiously through her phone. Observing the digital firestorm unfold, she felt anger and frustration twisting sharply in her chest. The raw reality of racism, often hidden behind polite facades, now lay painfully exposed before millions. Meanwhile, the production team stood paralyzed. The moderator, visibly shaken, hesitated, uncertain whether to apologize, intervene, or remain passive. But in the eye of this storm, Ibrahim sat unwavering. He knew silence was no longer an option. The moment demanded more than quiet dignity, it demanded truth. And as the camera lens focused back upon him, the world held its breath, waiting for Ibrahim Traoré's next words. Ibrahim Traoré stood slowly, movements measured, composed. All eyes followed his quiet ascent, the tension gripping the room tighter with every passing second. He calmly surveyed the studio, capturing the anticipation and discomfort mirrored in countless faces. Instead of anger, Ibrahim chose a different path, a quiet, unshakable dignity. He began speaking slowly, his voice deep and steady. He described, without dramatization, the painful truth of his family's history, his grandfather forced into labor under colonial rule in Africa's gold mines, and the humiliating rejection his mother endured at a European hospital solely due to her skin color. The raw simplicity of his story exposed a painful history one the audience rarely acknowledged openly. Ibrahim's calm intensity was sharper than any shouted protest, more powerful than accusations. Trump's earlier mocking laughter now echoed hollowly. His face hardened defensively. Around the room, eyes shifted downward, fingers nervously adjusted cuffs and ties. The discomfort of confronting long-buried prejudice spread visibly. Impossible to ignore, Amélie Laurent. seated quietly in the audience, watched proudly as Ibrahim's quiet dignity dismantled decades of silent complicity. On social media, viewers worldwide reacted passionately, flooding timelines with Ibrahim's powerful words and images of his calm defiance. The hashtags swiftly shifted from outrage to admiration, solidifying Ibrahim as a symbol of strength against prejudice. Finally, Ibrahim paused, his gaze locking deliberately onto Trump's defiant stare. He uttered a single, quiet phrase, "Our dignity doesn't depend on your approval, it lives within our truth." The impact resonated, echoing sharply across the silent studio. In that decisive moment, Ibrahim's strength was undeniable, transforming quiet truths into an unstoppable force. As Ibrahim's words resonated powerfully through the studio, Amélie Laurent quietly stepped out, heart racing with urgency. She knew the moment had come. Years of investigative journalism, hidden dangers, and sleepless nights converged now into a single decision, exposing a bitter truth. In a small, quiet corner away from prying eyes, Amélie unlocked her phone, hands trembling slightly, without hesitation. She uploaded confidential footage she had protected for months. Within moments, the footage was streaming live across every major social media platform, revealing secret meetings involving powerful mining corporations backed by the U.S. government. Executives coldly discussed strategies of destabilization, deliberate environmental damage, and resource exploitation in African nations. Exposing the harsh reality of injustice quietly funded by American influence, social media erupted instantly, spreading anger and shock worldwide, shifting the balance of power irreversibly. Now, millions waited anxiously, watching to see how Ibrahim Traoré would wield this explosive truth next. In the charged silence of the studio, Ibrahim Traoré sensed the shift clearly. Trump's smirk had vanished, replaced by a stunned disbelief as his carefully constructed facade crumbled live before millions. Across the room, producers hurried frantically, whispering in panic about the leaked footage, but Ibrahim stood firm, unfazed by the growing chaos. He recognized this critical moment, the tipping point between truth and illusion, calmly. Ibrahim turned back toward the cameras. Instead of speaking directly to Trump, he spoke to the millions watching across continents. His voice steady and unshakable, he quietly referenced the United Nations' foundational principles, highlighting the inherent rights and dignity of every human being, rights consistently denied. Often overlooked, Ibrahim's brief, powerful reminder hung in the air, slicing deeply into the room's remaining tension. Around him, world leaders sat rigidly, absorbing Ibrahim's measured truth, their expressions unreadable in the online realm. His words spread rapidly, resonating with millions who now rallied behind him. Then Ibrahim paused deliberately. His next words, simple yet piercing, echoed with undeniable power. "You haven't feared our ignorance. You fear the truth we speak." This succinct statement shattered any remaining illusions. Trump stared blankly ahead, visibly shaken. The aura of invincibility that had surrounded him moments before evaporated, leaving him visibly smaller, exposed, and powerless. Social media erupted again, users globally capturing this iconic moment. Ibrahim Traoré had confronted prejudice, exploitation, and injustice not with anger, but dignity and truth. Now he stood calmly, letting silence amplify his victory. Ibrahim knew he hadn't merely won a personal battle in confronting one man's arrogance. He had exposed systemic injustice. The cameras continued rolling, capturing history unfolding, a quiet strength overcoming hatred, a single voice transforming global consciousness. Within minutes of Ibrahim's powerful statement, global media exploded into chaos, fracturing along deeply polarized lines. The carefully scripted event now spun rapidly out of control, leaving traditional narratives shattered. In New York studios, conservative commentators scrambled urgently, attempting damage control. Fox News and similar outlets swiftly pivoted their narratives, portraying Ibrahim as overly sensitive, even dangerous. Headlines flashed aggressively: Traoré hijacks summit, outrage manufactured, and Trump under attack again. Meanwhile, in London and Paris, progressive media passionately defended Ibrahim's dignity, fiercely condemning Trump's racist statements. The BBC, Al Jazeera, and France 24 aired detailed analyses, highlighting decades of hidden exploitation, now abruptly exposed. Screens flashed images of polluted rivers, exploited African communities, and heartbreaking historical footage, reinforcing Ibrahim's quiet truth. On social media, the polarization intensified rapidly. Videos capturing Trump's crude remarks clashed with clips of Ibrahim's calm response, creating heated debates among users. Hashtags like Ibrahim Speaks, Racism Exposed, and Boycott Trump surged across platforms, millions debating passionately. In the Geneva studio, producers frantically attempted to manage the fallout. Guests dispersed quickly, avoiding cameras. Trump's team issued hurried press statements dismissing the controversy, labeling Ibrahim as politically motivated and misrepresented by liberal media. Amélie Laurent scrolled nervously through her phone, observing the fierce online battles. Anger surged alongside pride. She had anticipated controversy, but was astonished by its sheer intensity. Yet beneath the chaos, she saw something extraordinary emerging. Millions around the world, now openly discussing uncomfortable truths previously hidden behind polite silence. Meanwhile, Ibrahim remained calm, quietly exiting the studio. He understood clearly the battle was no longer merely personal. His voice had ignited global reflection and confrontation, forcing conversations about racial prejudice, exploitation, and dignity into the forefront of international discourse. As media factions entrenched deeper, Ibrahim knew one truth remained undeniable: the world was finally listening. As media battles raged, something unprecedented stirred globally. Ibrahim Traoré's dignified stand against prejudice resonated deeply, igniting a powerful, collective reaction that spread rapidly across continents. In Dakar, thousands marched peacefully through sunlit streets, faces determined and voices united. Their banners bore Ibrahim's powerful words, printed boldly: "Our dignity doesn't depend on your approval." The protest spread swiftly to Nairobi, Johannesburg, and Accra, each rally amplifying the message against racism and exploitation across the Atlantic. At universities from Harvard to Oxford, students organized spontaneous demonstrations. Young people of every background stood shoulder to shoulder, chanting Ibrahim's name, their voices defiant and unwavering. Social media flooded with videos of these protests, rapidly amplifying their impact. In Chicago, a 15-year-old African-American student quietly pinned Ibrahim's words onto his backpack before walking boldly into school, sparking conversations that rippled throughout the community. Amidst these powerful displays of solidarity, Ibrahim himself remained quiet, choosing intentionally not to seize personal fame. Instead, he allowed millions around the world to become voices of change, transforming his moment of quiet courage into a global movement. Amélie Laurent closely monitored the rapidly unfolding events, astonished and inspired by the sheer scale of unity emerging. She saw clearly how Ibrahim's dignity had unlocked something deeper, encouraging individuals worldwide to openly confront painful histories, racism, and entrenched prejudice. Meanwhile, world leaders struggled privately to navigate the political storm. Some openly embraced Ibrahim's stance, while others cautiously distanced themselves, uncertain of political repercussions. Yet no one could ignore the powerful momentum spreading globally. Ibrahim watched from afar, humbled yet resolute. He knew this movement transcended him personally. It belonged now to every individual who refused to remain silent against injustice. In that moment, Ibrahim realized something remarkable had happened. Quiet dignity had become a weapon far stronger than anger, violence, or fear, uniting millions in shared purpose, demanding the world's respect, and proving beyond doubt that dignity could no longer be denied. As the global wave of solidarity continued to rise, Donald Trump retreated quietly from public view, his usual bravado notably absent. Press conferences were abruptly canceled, media appearances postponed indefinitely. Trump's previously vocal supporters fell into an uncomfortable silence, unsure how to defend him against the overwhelming public backlash. His media team scrambled behind closed doors, crafting calculated statements designed to diffuse the controversy without provoking further outrage. Yet these carefully constructed messages only deepened the perception of weakness. Conservative allies who had once openly praised Trump's blunt style now hesitated, reluctant to be associated with the raw racial prejudice he had exposed. Journalists camped outside Trump Tower, capturing brief glimpses of aides rushing in and out, their expressions tense and guarded. Political analysts speculated endlessly about the lasting damage to Trump's reputation, damage that had stripped away layers of confidence, leaving him visibly diminished across social media. Users noted Trump's conspicuous silence with mocking hashtags like #TrumpSilent and #WhereIsTrump trending. The stark contrast between Ibrahim Traoré's quiet strength and Trump's subdued retreat dominated global discourse. Amélie Laurent monitored these developments closely, recognizing clearly that Trump's silence was more powerful evidence of his defeat than any formal admission ever could be. Ibrahim had delivered no harsh personal attacks, he had simply revealed an uncomfortable truth. Trump's inability to respond now spoke louder than any apology or denial. In the silence left by Trump's retreat, the world sensed a shift, an irreversible acknowledgement that dignity and truth had finally triumphed over arrogance and prejudice. In the aftermath of Trump's silent retreat, Ibrahim Traoré quietly stepped away from the global spotlight. He intentionally declined interviews, gracefully rejecting the world's clamoring demand for his voice. Yet his silence spoke volumes far louder than words could. Instead of basking in newfound fame, Ibrahim immediately began organizing the foundations of the Global Dignity Alliance. Quietly, he invited young leaders from Haiti, Bolivia, Rwanda, places historically overshadowed and overlooked, to join forces. Their mission: empower marginalized communities through education, technology, and authentic representation. The alliance quickly drew international attention. Media outlets sought Ibrahim's reaction, hoping for sensational statements or provocative headlines, but Ibrahim offered only a brief message, shared simply through the alliance's official channels. We don't seek platforms or applause. We seek understanding and dignity. These quiet words resonated powerfully, further cementing his reputation as a leader whose strength lay not in fiery rhetoric, but in steadfast authenticity. Amélie Laurent, watching closely from afar, felt deeply inspired. Ibrahim had transformed humiliation into hope, prejudice into empowerment. She realized clearly that his greatest victory wasn't simply exposing racism. It was offering a new vision of leadership rooted in respect, truth, and quiet courage across the globe. Countless individuals continued carrying Ibrahim's words forward, embedding dignity into daily lives and personal actions. Ibrahim himself returned quietly to Burkina Faso, determined as ever, away from cameras and speeches. He dedicated himself tirelessly to uplift his people, knowing true dignity thrives not in headlines, but in humble acts of everyday courage. In his purposeful silence, Ibrahim Traoré delivered a lesson that resonated louder than any speech, showing the world that dignity needs no approval, only the courage to stand unyieldingly in truth. Thank you all for watching this video. Please comment and let me know what you think about this story. Please like and subscribe to watch more great content on my channel. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more inspiring stories of personal growth and empowerment.